Hello, everybody. My name's Eric Burns. I'm the VP of Sales North America here at Geniusee. I want to thank you for attending our webinar, Transforming EdTech Customer Experience with AI, Real-World Success Stories. Here at Geniusee, we specialize in helping EdTech companies enhance learning experiences, improve customer experience, and retention with our AI-driven solutions. We've got more than 7 years experience, more than 180 successful projects, where we've developed AI-powered tools that make education more engaging and effective. Today, I'm excited to introduce our speaker, Oles Dobosevych. He's the head of data science and data engineering here at Geniusee. 15 years of experience in engineering, AI, and data science. He's led some groundbreaking AI projects. He's collaborated with industry giants like Meta, worked with YC and Techstars-backed startups. Today, he'll be sharing some practical insights on how AI is reshaping EdTech. We're also going to have time for Q&A afterwards, so go ahead and post your questions in the chat section. Let's dive in. Oles, take it away.
Eric, thank you for introduction. So today we will be speaking about how AI is transforming EdTech industry, customer experience with real AI, real world success stories. So the plan for today's talk lecture stream is next. So we will start from introduction, where I would tell you a few words about myself and actually about the topic itself. After that, we would discuss a little bit what is happening in education domain, what are current trends, where all the things are going. After that, we would talk about why you may lose clients, or why people in education domain are currently losing clients. And we would discuss a little bit how we can overcome these challenges, how actually AI can help us to overcome these challenges. And we would finish with the risks. So each solution have some type of risks that you should be aware of. So we would be speaking about how actually what risks are coming with these solutions that you can actually, that we propose you to do. And we would finish with actually Q&A session where you can pretty easily ask questions. And I would try to help you as much as I can within our limited amount of time. So let's start from introduction. So first of all, a few words about myself. So as Eric told you, so I am leading data science and data engineering here at Geniusee. I was previously CTO at YC and Techstars-based companies. I was also I also had a huge experience in doing research. So in example, I was doing some research project jointly with Meta and other large partners or large vendors on the market. I have over 15 years experience in development specializing in AI. At the point when I started doing some things in AI, it was not even called AI, it was called statistics. After that, it was called data science. And nowadays it's the popular name for that is actually AI. So I completed over 30 projects in AI, and I also have some education experience. So let's talk a little bit what is currently happening in education domain. So we see several trends. The first trend that we see is actually AI is killing products. And here is a chart of weekly post posted on Stack Overflow since actually ChatGPT become live. And what you may see here actually is that ChatGPT is actually killing Stack Overflow. And there is a simple reason for that. The main simple reason for that is actually that people don't need anymore to go to such platforms like Stack Overflow. They can do the same things in ChatGPT and receive almost immediate answers. So they don't need to wait until someone would answer your question, or someone would say that it's already a duplicate, or someone would say that there is no solution for that topic. So ChatGPT would immediately provide you answer, or you can go even to some alternatives of ChatGPT, Claude, DeepSeek, or any other platform. And it would help you immediately. It would generate you code, you can even do now use such feature as a deep research that would crawl all the internet, crawl all the sources, not only Stack Overflow, and respond you with pretty detailed answer. That's why one of the trends that we actually see is that after introducing ChatGPT, the domain itself changed a lot. and actually some more products are actually killed like with AI. So another trend that we see here at Geniusee, based on the request of our customers and actually what we are researching, or based on our research like on the markets, that person like so that clients like of the educational platforms are more and more like seeking for personalized learning experiences. It means that they don't want like some basic quiz with ABCD as a learning experience. They want like something like more customizable. They want to have like either some interactive content, either like some funny content, either some tools that would additionally educate them, not just like I don't know, like 30 papers of boring materials in the text form. They want like also like some video content. They also want to audio content. And this like is very important trend, and this is something that you need to care about. So personalized learning experience is really something that matters. Additionally, what we see and what our clients are requesting for is actually something that's called like virtual assistant. And here is like actually an example of one well-known platform called Han Academy. So they built their own AI assistant called Hanmigo that actually help you to study. And you may think that that is only like for students, to help like students to study and maybe explain them in a little bit more friendly way or in a little bit more details, like why their answer was wrong. Actually, those virtual assistants are not only for students, they are also for teachers, and they are actually helping teachers to actually either build like some interactive materials, either suggest them where they can have like an error, either like generate, like help them to generate some ideas. And this is like one more trend that we see here at Geniusee. Okay, so we see some trends, and why based on these trends, like how to like let's sum up like why you may lose clients, or like people or like other companies like in the education industry are losing clients. So we actually found out like three main reasons why it's happening. The first reason is actually lack of innovation. So, and it may seem like pretty obvious reason, yeah. So if you are not like modifying your project, if you're not like with up-to-date design, that may seem like a pretty obvious reason. So we probably are losing client for the reason of lack of innovation. But that's not only about like UI UX. That's like about something more. That's more about how you are interacting with the client. So imagine a simple bar. How do you think it should work like nowadays? Whether it should work like a simple serve? No, I will talk a little bit about that in next slide. So another like reasons that we see is actually that like platforms are using their client for the reasons that they don't have like insufficient additional value. With the case of Stack Overflow, what we actually saw that there is like no any additional value like on Stack Overflow compared like to ChatGPT. You can just easily pay like your $20 subscription on ChatGPT and receive like even better answer. You would receive like that immediate answer. You would not need to wait like how long it would for someone to go there to check that like answer and like would respond that. So that's like the main questions that we usually ask like our clients, and that usually we try to help them, like whether like you have like enough additional value compared to ChatGPT. And that can be added like by, for example, introducing like some your unique data sets, or by actually introducing like some unique interactive modes that ChatGPT doesn't have. ChatGPT that nowadays could answer only with text and tables. Like whether you can do something better, whether you can do like some audios, whether you can do like some other stuff. I don't know. Like so, and that's like actually what we are seeing as a trend here. So this, and the third like option is actually the limited understanding of the customers. Yeah, so let's go one by one. So remember, like when I was talking about like lack of innovation, I was giving like use that example with the usual search bar. So if I would go like to edX and I would write down like I want to become an AI expert and press like a search bar, so I would receive one result. Is it good? I would not think so. So nowadays, that would be good, like, I don't know, like 3-4 years ago, like when like first time like Google search like when introduced, it was like really like a huge innovation. Nowadays, like when the people are seeing like a bar, an input bar, like and some button, they are like looking for something similar to experience that they have like within the chat GPT. That means that's not like just like a list of items. That's something much more. That actually like some advisement, that's like some conversation. And what you need to think about like when you are like actually developing your product, whether like your platform actually is satisfying your need, whether this brings like this up-to-date experience, whether that's really like up-to-date or like that's a little bit outdated. And that's not only about, that's about like interaction like with your platform. Another like things like that I actually mentioned already, like whether your platform brings some additional value. Here an example, I generated like a simple example with ChatGPT. Okay, I can do the search bar like pretty interactive, but whether like ChatGPT is not like doing the same, like whether there is like some additional content, some new materials like that actually ChatGPT can bring and show you. And that's a really important thing that you need to take to think about. And the third point is, may sound like a pretty obvious, is actually limited understanding of your customer, but that's not like very obvious. You really need to understand your customers like from different perspectives. What they are like behaviors, like when they are entering like your platform, whether those like buttons are like good for them, whether they are like expecting from you innovation or they don't expect like from you innovation. Not all like the categories of the people are good users of ChatGPT, and your specific customers don't expect like such behavior as ChatGPT do. Maybe they expect like a huge button, a huge input bar, and a huge response, a huge text. And that's really important to understand, like whether like those solutions that you propose actually fits good to your customer or like not fit as good like to your customer. So what are like the things that we can propose like as to resolve like this issue, to what you can introduce on your platform with the help like of AI nowadays that would make your platform, like for example, like more personalizable. Let's go through several cases that we implemented together with our client, and that actually helps them to improve retention of their customers. That actually helps them to increase, like not decrease, like or stay the same amount of user, but actually help them to increase like the amount of user. Let's take a look at first case. So AI dubbing, and like you may think that like dubbing like nowadays is something like very obvious, but it's really like the technology could be nowadays really mature. And what I mean under mature, whether you were thinking that dubbing could not be only by subtitles, whether you were thinking that dubbing could also be a full transfer of voice, a full transfer of voice with emotion, a full transfer of all the stuff like that were happening, like a fully aligned like with the video content. And that's like a case that we actually implemented with one of our clients, and I will show like an example of how it's working. So I took a video from very famous channel for learning like linear algebra called like 3 Blue 1 Brown, where they are exploring like different like linear algebra content. I took like that content that was originally in English language and asked like AI to actually to transfer that to Spanish one. So let's take a look how it would sound.
Hola amigos, tengo un video relativamente corto para ustedes hoy, solo una especie de nota al pie entre capítulos. En los dos últimos videos, hablé sobre transformaciones lineales y matrices, pero solo mostré el caso específico de transformaciones que llevan vectores bidimensionales a otros vectores bidimensionales. En general, a lo largo de esta serie, trabajaremos principalmente en 2 dimensiones, principalmente porque es más fácil de ver en la pantalla y de entender. Pero más importante que eso, una vez que entiendes todas las ideas principales en 2 dimensiones, se trasladan de manera bastante fluida a dimensiones superiores. No obstante, es bueno asomarnos fuera de la tierra plana de vez en cuando para, ya sabes, ver qué significa aplicar estas ideas en más de solo esas 2 dimensiones. Por ejemplo, considera una transformación lineal con vectores tridimensionales como entradas y vectores tridimensionales como salidas.
as you may saw, like actually everything like was transferred. The emotions like were transferred, like the alignment like of the audio like was transferred. Even the manner, like the speed in which like the person like was explaining like the content like was transferred. And if like those titles like were not like in English and the text like were not in English, that can also be pretty easily fixed like with AI. You would not like assume that the original video was like in English. You may assume that's like I just like showed you some Spanish like speaking video, but you can easily check like by going like to the platform like 3 blue 1 brown. Yeah. Another like case that we actually did like with our client is creative content generation. And I already mentioned that you may bring like some additional value to your customers, but by, for example, like introducing some new form like of interaction like with the client. And those forms like could be pretty different. Like an obvious forms like are like audio and video. So you, for example, with AI can convert like your text like to the audio, and even maybe like to the video, and we will talk about that like a little bit later on, like when we will be speaking about like AI avatars. But whether there are like possibility to do something like more creative. And here is like a case like what that we did like with like one of our clients. So for persons that's not a native speaker, understanding like phrasal verbs like could be a pretty complicated thing. So for example, like while I was studying like English, like actually phrasal verbs like were pretty complicated topic for me. So that's why like I was like struggling a lot. What this platform actually proposed, it proposed you to convert the content you have to the rap songs. And here is like an example of one of the things that we did like together with our client. So you may see here that actually that those like phrasal verbs like were like integrated in rap, and to that like were added like some like examples of how to properly use these phrasal verbs. And what you can additionally do to that, you can additionally, in example, convert this to the audio. You can, for example, use like, I don't know, like Kendrick Lamar like voice to actually to sing that song, and you would have like something even better that you have like on that you had like on Super Bowl. So you can have like really amazing like audio like with a rap like that Kendrick, in which like Kendrick Lamar like will explain you how like the phrasal verbs like would be working on. Yeah, so that's like one of the forms that you can do like with this with content generation. So another like cases that we are like implementing with our customers is actually platform or course-based search. So I already mentioned that input bar like nowadays like doesn't work as well like as it was working previously. So nowadays like people from input bar like are expecting like something like more. They are not expecting like some like simple answer. So they want like either table, either like some conversation, either some like other things. And what we did here, so we, instead of like actually doing like the simple search, we were like integrated a chatbot that was answering like the users like to the question. In example, if the user would ask like, what is the best way like for me to become an AI engineer? So the platform, the course-based search, like what would actually do, it would generate like a list of possible courses. And what you can do after that, you can, for example, ask like, which course is the best to start? Or which course like is actually is like not as easy. So I, for example, my background like is not like as basic and I need like something more advanced. And that would help like to improve the results and send you back like the solution. What we even understood like with those customers that we were checking like this feature on, that for them would be what they expect. They expect not only the answer, they expect like a feature called like follow-up question that allows users not to actually write like with hands like the next question. They want like an AI to be like more proactive. They want an AI to propose like some type of solutions, propose some types of next action. And what we added as additional step of improvement of that platform, we actually added like some next questions that you can ask like after that. So another tool that we actually developed like with one of our clients is actually an AI assistant. And AI assistants could be used like for a lot of different things. Like in examples, they can be used like to explain like the lecture materials that you have like in text, and you don't want like to I don't know, like read, you would rather like watch some video. So AI assistants could be those who would be explaining to users materials, like with some of the emotions, like with some like gestures, or even like with some like slides that was AI generated. But what additionally, for example, like was one of the clients that we did, we actually built like a whole HR bot. Okay, so the platform, the educational platform usually provide like a learning material, but whether are you ready like to use those learning materials and those skills like in your next jobs? You would probably, after like learning some materials, you would probably try to apply like to the new job. And what we integrated together with one of our clients, we actually integrated a simple AI chatbot, like a video, an AI assistant that was asking like our question. So let's take a look how it was working.
Hi, my name is Jeff. Today I will be your interviewer. Let's proceed with the following questions.
Yes, so you may see that Jeff, like today's interviewer, was not like only like asking like with a boring voice like about like questions that he had like for our today's interview. He was even like just like making like some hand gesture. He would even like showing some emotions on his face, and that actually would made like those interview process much more closer to what you would have like in real life. Definitely, that's not like yet like a replacement for an interviewer. And nowadays, like that's like we have like still a lot of things like to improve, like in next 3-4 months to actually make it like AI assistant like pretty close like to interviewer. That the person like that there would be no need like of interviewer. But you may see that it's already like a good training step like for you as the next person that would be interviewed. Let's talk like about our next steps. So in some industry, in some like platforms, it's not like as important to have like a very nice I don't know, like input bar and the same like actually experience as you have like in ChatGPT. In some platforms, there is like much more important to actually to be sure that you actually covered like a specific skill. In example, like when you are working like in, I don't know, for example, if it's educational platform for internal usage, you want like to add ability like to your customers to search by a specific skill, because like, for example, that could be added like to their improvement plan. So you have like, for example, like from position to position, you have like a list of skills that the person like need to cover or know at some specific level. And for that, like AI search, like it's not like very all the time like is good solution. So what, for example, like we did with our customer, we still use AI and like actually integrate like ChatGPT and some other additional like tools to actually build an automatic tagging of the content. That means that as soon as the content like were uploaded like to the platform, you actually had an ability to the text like were automatically like put it on a video. Additionally, what, for example, like this customer requested us, he actually requested us to tag like not only with some custom tags, but also tag like with a standard called ASCO. That's like a pretty popular standard in European Union that are like used like for like identifying like which roles like which skills need to have. And what we added like as additional step, we not only tagged like with some custom tags like that actually AI was generating, but we additionally added like to our categorization also this ASCO skills to actually to have an ability to search by those ASCO skills. Another like an example could be like a course recommendation, and that again like could be in pretty different form. Like an example, you usually saw like course recommendation as some questions like on the as an next like course to learn, but that also could be in a form of chatbot. For example, like after you are finishing like your video, a chatbot can pop up and ask like whether you want to know like some additional recommendation, what to study and learn. And then that again like would turn like to the similar experience that you have like with either ChatGPT or some other like similar tools. And it would like provide you an ability to actually to go and like ask like some additional question, additional like things after that. Okay, so we talked about like several like different solutions that we could like make with AI. So what are the risks like that coming are together with those like solutions? So there are several risks. Those of 5 are not critical, but you need to keep them in mind like while are you developing like platform. And I wonder like we would definitely care about like all of them. But if you, for example, want to decide to move by your own, you need to care about them really important. So first of all, the first risk like that comes with any AI tools that you would be implementing, and that's not only risk, but that's also like a benefit that AI is rapidly changing. Why I'm saying like that's on both sides risk and actually and benefit, for the reason that what it would bring you, that AI rapidly changing, it would bring you that something that was not possible like, I don't know, like 2 months ago would be definitely possible now. And why I'm saying that this is a risk, like for the reason that if you would go like with AI solution, you would be needed to improving your platform pretty rapidly. You would need to switch from one version like of ChatGPT to another version, because like users like would be expecting like the same quality as ChatGPT have. So you all the time would need like to be updating like your platform. That's in a proper design way, that's not a huge problem, but that's like really important to something to think about. Additionally, like the risk is that AI can hallucinate. With a proper like settings, that's not a huge problem. But if you would use like an example default ChatGPT with default parameters, that could be a huge risk. And you need to set up the proper parameters to ensure that, I don't know, like that the AI would not be answering like to the questions that you don't expect him to answer. Additional aspect is actually ethical and regulatory standards. And here you need to check like whether in your industry there are like some security standards that need to follow, whether you are like need to follow some certification. And for that, like usually a good like certified provider, good ISO certified provider like would help you. Additional thing is actually lack of explainability. So sometimes like the default ChatGPT doesn't have like flow and explanation how it reached like to that like solution of how they reached to that answer. Sometimes that could be a really important things like to have in a platform, and for that you need to customly actually set up like ChatGPT. And the fifth thing that you usually not is as critical is actually scalability. So, and that's like not a very huge issue when you're using like tools like ChatGPT, but when you are trying to build a custom solution or custom language model, or like some custom tools, that could be actually a bottlenecks. And like on some platforms like AWS or even like on OpenAI platform, like when you are just starting, you're on a basic tier, and not like a huge amount of requests is possible like to be making by actually to an API. So you need to care about that and not forget about that. Yeah. So that's all my slides like for today. So Eric, I'm passing like my word to you. So we have like enough time for question and answer. I would be happy to answer to those questions that maybe the audience have.
Yeah, thank you, Oles. I was really blown away by the AI dubbing example. It's been quite a few years since I took Spanish, but there's a very large Hispanic population where I live, and I would have thought that that was a native speaker, and actually found the enunciation and the inflection very easy to follow. That really blew me away. We did have Carlos asked earlier that they were going to have to leave after 30 minutes. Yes, there is going to be a way to watch this video afterwards. We are going to go ahead and start with our questions. First one we have here: how would deep research from OpenAI impact the education experience?
Yeah, so the deep search is actually a feature that was announced like and already available like for a lot of users like on OpenAI subscription. So that's a feature that allows user to actually to not like have the answer based on like just ChatGPT knowledge. It would also allow like to crawl like the whole internet. That's like part of the joke, part of the true. That it would allow like to like go through the whole internet and actually find like the most relevant content to you, sum up that the most relevant content to you, and like provide you a pretty detailed answer. And I think like that it would really change like the research like landscape and how like people are like retrieving like the cutting edge technologies, how they are retrieving information about cutting edge technology. Previously, to receive like some cutting edge technologies, like for example, to explain like how the Majorana one from Microsoft works, you need like to read some scientific papers, like for example, scientific papers from Microsoft where they actually publish. Now, what you can actually do, you can actually go to deep research, like tell him like search through the whole internet, and it would provide you a very detailed like information in very simple language about like some specific cutting edge technology, and it would like simplify the learning like curve of this cutting edge technology pretty rapidly.
Yeah, that's very interesting because it's been one of the topics I frequently see with ChatGPT is when was the corpus of data for the large language model taken in? You ask a question that's current news, I guess you would expect a hallucination. But we'll move on to the next question here. How is AI changing the UI and UX experience?
Yeah, about that, I already mentioned like one nice example, but I would even say like one additional. So it allows you pretty easily to prototype. So remember, like, I don't know, like I was starting like the IT career like 15 years ago, like with a tool called like WordPress, like when actually you needed to write like a lot of code to customize like your website, to add like even a simple I don't know, like chat, like you would need like to spend like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days, like, or like even more. Nowadays, like with AI, you can easily prototype like your like solution. And what actually is changing like a speed of how you can easily iterate like over your UI UX experience. Additionally to that, you even can customize like your UI UX per the user. So for example, you can have an ability to I don't know, like have like a lot of infinity like amount of different scenarios, take a user information and for him like generate like the custom UI UX. And that's already possible, like, and there is like a lot of tools on the market that are doing that. Or like you can choose a vendor like Geniusee and we can help you with the customizing of actually of this of your tool and integrating that feature.
Yeah, there certainly are some limitations to what the AI can do. I've leveraged it several times for some code, and it's made certain things quicker. In other areas, I've had to do a lot of debugging from the code generated. This one I think is a real interesting question. What are the fields of education that you think will not be impacted by AI?
Yeah, I think like what would be important and would stay important, like, and it would sound like pretty, I would say not very expected, that tutoring like would not be changed. And you heard about like AI tutoring, and you would say like, so why it would not be changed? The reason for that is because like actually this in-person activities are still becoming like very important. And sometimes like you can like with all this AI like stuff, you can actually forgot about like some very like human like interaction like way. And like that's really like, I don't think like something that would not change like in a very quick time. And this tutoring like would be still like very important. In AI would help like tutors to actually to generate like new content. AI would help like tutors to become like better, but it would like not replace like the fully like the tutor. That's the same thing that we actually saw like in medical domain. So tools that were like detecting like something on X-rays like were existing already like for a lot of time, but they did not replace like the doctors. They started like helping doctors to identify illnesses earlier, or they help like the doctors to start like measuring like, for example, what are like the sides of like the vessel, or like what are the size like of that issue, whether like, for example, like the bone, like what are the size of the broken bone, like the piece between two broken bones.
Yeah, that is interesting on the tutoring. My son's off in college and used a tutor through high school, and the memory that the tutor had of the different topics that they discussed and the different experiences that my son had, it's hard to see AI having that knowledge and being able to customize that help to leverage some past knowledge, a past experience, etc. Another one here, where should one start when beginning an AI project?
Yeah, so I think the best way to start is actually to use something like start like with something that we call like AI ideation. That's like an initial step to actually to think about like the idea together, like with like an example vendor like we, and actually like discuss like that in a more the data, like massage like this idea a little bit more. And or like if you don't want like to use like any vendor, you can actually start like with ChatGPT and start like asking like about like your idea and how you can actually improve that. That's also a possible way. Or like even like use some AI tools to build your solution. And after that, like we would actually allows you to clean that solution and make it like really usable for customer. Care about like all the security details and other things.
Yeah, I'm certainly a big supporter of purposeful learning, where I want to learn to program and you just try. It's different than I want to create a UI that will do ABC. When you have those constraints, you certainly do learn it better. I'm curious, well, this is a neat one too, because I love AR and VR. What do you think about the role of AR and VR in EdTech?
I think like they would improve like pretty rapidly in next like several years, or maybe even next several months. So we already see that there's a project like Orion, like actually is like very good. And I think like the missing piece in AR and VR like was actually AI. So and like nowadays, like so AR and VR like were not used like as often for the reasons that they didn't have like they didn't like can you put like that you in that either augmented reality or virtual reality. And that was like mostly like for the reasons that AI like was not like very mature. And what we can actually do like nowadays, you can actually like now like integrate like voice, or you can now like more like more make feeling like more realistic. And I think like actually AI is actually a very good like would help like AR and VR boost in next several months, and we would see like a tons of different application of AR and VR in EdTech.
Cool. Curious, do you think DeepSeek will outperform OpenAI?
I think like so there is like a lot of like players in the market, and that's not only about like DeepSeek. An example like Mistral like just released like very fast and efficient like language. But I would think like that's all this like actually competition is good for a market, because like you would receive like cheaper model, you would receive like better model much more faster, because like everyone is competing and everyone like fighting for you as a customer. So I don't think like that is really important, like whether DeepSeek is overperform or not overperform OpenAI. What is important for you is that this like competition is good for you, because like you would like just pay less.
Yep. So we have one here that the salesperson in me is having a hard time biting my tongue and throwing in an answer. But for an EdTech MVP with AI features, what's your advice on building in-house versus integrating third-party AI services like OpenAI or Google?
Yeah, I would say like actually you need to start like from something like very quickly, and like using like some in-house solution, and like building like those in-house solution could actually could make your competitors like go like to the market much more faster. And for the reasons you would be spending like on building your custom AI model, and by using like some third-party services that are like secure enough and really caring about the security of your data, would actually help you to actually to not spend time on that. Like you would just like release like very quickly, and you would be like in a very fast and efficient like phase. So I am like strong opponent of using like some services, but it's important like to care like which services to use and make sure that they would not like be stealing like your data. because and that's very important, because when you are having a very harmful audience, that's child stealing your data could not be a very good case.
Yeah, that was one that especially with I spent time in the conversational AI space, and the whole speech to text, text to speech, and then being able to extract the content from that free-form message was a wonderful example of using a third-party service. That being said, there are times that you don't want to necessarily be helping a company create their product by giving them a corpus of, say, 10,000 support questions that they now incorporate into their product. It's scary out there. So definitely, know where your data is going and have it clarified who it belongs to afterwards. I believe that's it as far as the questions that we've had come in. I want to thank everybody for attending today. Our webinar on how AI can transform customer experience and retention in EdTech. If you're ready to bring these innovations to your EdTech platform, Geniusee is here to help. Our AI-powered solutions, from AI-driven content creation to personalized learning paths, are designed to elevate the learning experience and drive real results. Let's connect. Contact us today, and let's start enhancing your customer experience together.